folks, my name is Lilia. I'm an English teacher who specialises in teaching English for exams. And today I'm going to share with you some of my favourite writing tips that will allow you to take your writing score in any exam you'll be taking to a new level. I'm an avid writer myself. I love writing, but I do know from experience that some of those students, and hand on heart, most of us, are not very happy when it comes to writing things. And I think one of the major reasons why that might be happening is because we don't write in a way that is enjoyable to us. We have never been encouraged to write in a way that would feel good. Another reason for hating writing would have to be that we kind of feel it is set in stone. Once we put some letters onto a piece of paper, they will stay there forever. And if the teacher crosses certain things away violently, that red ink will stay there forever as well. I also think that writing is a very scary thing to do. It's rather intimidating because the majority of us have had a life experience where we just went to school where our writing got assessed by a teacher who did that in an unfair way, in a way that didn't actually let us unearth our creative potential, and we were working towards a specific score with our writing. So I think that's the first and foremost reason why writing has gained a little bit of that bad rep in the sphere of learning. I also think that writing with mistakes is an embarrassing thing to do because of the grammar Nazi culture and things like that. And very often we know that grammatical mistakes may be all and end all for people who have no idea how to insult you, but they really feel an urge to insult you on the internet, so they would just pick on your writing skills or on your grammatical mistakes or on your typos. So today we're going to talk about a few tips, a few things that you can do to bring more writing into your life, because as we very well know, your exam result is all about decent preparation. The first thing you have to do is write, write and write. Doesn't sound very encouraging, does it? But as we have already discovered, we're getting much better at doing things that we love when we're doing them from a genuine place of interest in our heart. So here are a few things that you can do to start writing in English with an added benefit of improving your life. If you're a self-development junkie, just like myself, here is an interesting thing that you can do. Start writing a gratitude list. Every evening, set aside 5 minutes of time to put down at least 5 things that you're grateful for on that particular day. Another great thing that you can do is start writing a reflection journal where you put down all psychological techniques that you get down to doing during the day, but you also do that in English. That's just amazing. You could put down a few insights every day, something that you discover, like observations that happen to you on a daily basis. It might look something like this. Today, I have looked out of the window only to discover that the autumn has already started. And you put that down, all in writing. How amazing is that? You could also combine that with writing a diary, which is also quite exciting. How many of us wrote a diary when we were young children? I think some of us did. In therapy work, there is an interesting exercise that I do with my private clients. We call it a manifestation exercise. What happens is a person draws a little table consisting of 2 columns, and on the right, in the right column, they write the word evidence, and in the left column they write the word proclamation. And what happens is in the proclamation column, people write down the things that they want to happen for them. And they also write them, kind of like affirmations type of style of writing. Like, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling abundant, I'm feeling excited about my life, I'm getting an A in my language test. And in the evidence column, what we should write is the physical evidence that we can see in the world around us that actually backs up the proclamation things that we had written in the proclamation column of that table. For instance, I'm getting more and more prepared for my IELTS test because I can see that my level of English is improving. I can see it because now I can understand native speakers that I watch on YouTube way more than I did in the past. Or for example, I think that I'm getting very close to getting my A in the test because today I talked to my native English speaker teacher and she said that my English has improved. Or today I was able to accomplish an exercise and get 95% correct in that exercise as opposed to 80% like I did in the past. And that is like the concrete evidence that my level of English is growing. By doing that in writing, it will help you to kill two birds with one stone. You will take your life skills a little bit further and feel positive about your own English performance, but also you will practice a little bit of your English, which is also good, isn't it? 2. Make mistakes and get the feedback. It's really great where you can get in contact with a teacher who can provide you with decent feedback, who can read your writing and comment on it and just add some suggestions or comments while reading your writing. And what does a good feedback involve? I think great feedback would involve some recommendations for your growth. So if you're already involved in a teacher-student relationship, or if you're doing a course that prepares you for a test with the language school, make sure that you ask your teacher if they can, if this is not part of their practice yet, to add some further recommendations for you. Because what happens in IELTS and CP and CAE and all exams writing criteria is that you have a table with mark descriptors. And what happens in that table is that the people who created the exams suggest what skills a candidate should possess in order to reach a certain mark in their exam. And what they have in those descriptors is they very often talk about the things that the candidate should be able to do in a very concrete fashion. For instance, in order to get an, let's say, band 8 in lexical resource in IELTS, the candidate should be able to use less common vocabulary with a great degree of precision. They would also need to be able to use quite a number of linkers in a vocabulary related way that would be correct and accurate. So that's something you have to be able to do. You might ask your teacher to focus on those areas specifically where you need to head next. So you're very clear as to where you need to go next in terms of your language development. 3. Feel into the corrections. If you're lucky enough to get a teacher who can correct your writing in a coherent way, what you could do is when you get the list of corrections or comments or suggestions based on the writing papers that you have done, what you need to do is figure out the reasons behind the corrections. It's not just enough to take a look through the corrections as they're given back to you from your teacher. If you want to learn, you really need to understand the reasons why the corrections have been made in the first place. Another thing that you need to do next is feel into the corrections. We can't take our performance a level further if we don't understand, and I mean genuinely understand, why we made a mistake and what would have to be the correct version like, and what would have to be the reason behind the correct version. And it's not just enough to learn a grammar rule. I know grammar rules have made a little bit of a bad rep for themselves because they're very technical, but they just take us nowhere. So it's never enough just to learn a grammar rule. What you really need to do is just to allow yourself to fully bring yourself into the understanding behind the corrections. Figure out the meaning kind of reason behind it and feel that meaning. For those of us who are kind of intuitive learners, that would have to be a little bit easier, because if you're an intuitive learner like myself, you probably suck at figuring out the exact grammar rules and putting grammar labels on top of the writing things and the language structures that you actually write intuitively. If you're a little bit like myself, I would recommend that you actually create a direct associative connection with the language that you use, because later on you will be able to use that language specifically on purpose with a full recognition of what that language does for context sake. 4. This tip is very practical. Disable automatic correction on your electronic devices. I know you might be afraid of making a fool of yourself if you're writing an email to an important partner abroad. So for that particular purpose, you might want to enable your automatic correction on your phone. But for practice's sake, what you might want to do is switch all of your electronic devices into English and see what happens. I think it works great because if you have been using your electronic devices and gadgets in your first language, you're probably aware of the titles of certain folders and certain tabs that then would be renamed into English. And so you'll be very easily able to draw this connection between the first language word and the English word. So that works amazing. I can't recommend it enough. It also feeds into your feeling of the language and into your spoken performance, because I think many of the communications and conversations that we have these days have to do with electronics and technology. So this will also help you. 5. Expose yourself to high quality reading materials. Reading feeds into writing. Reading inspires writing. That's something we need to bear in mind. If you have a good book to read in English, you will be surprised to discover in a period of time how much that will have informed your writing ability. That's just amazing. I can't recommend it enough. One great book I would probably like to bring to your attention would have to be Teal Swan's Anatomy of Loneliness. It's a great book because, again, it kills two birds with one stone, and you know that I'm a great fan of efficient ways of learning a language. The first thing that the book will allow you to do is it will allow you to gain access to a high quality reading material that is also quite down to earth and very practical. And secondly, the book will allow you to gain access to dozens of amazing written exercises, things that take your own life to the next level, but also things that allow you to practice your writing in the observation journal that we mentioned in the first tip in this video. So I would recommend that you do that. And I really, really hope that you'll be able to form a close connection with your writing skill and you will enjoy writing as a result of this video. I hope it's been practical enough and I hope you're feeling super inspired to write right now, because exam success happens not in the examination room. It happens in your preparation process. Talk to you soon. Bye.